day Geoffrey Woods and his family arrived at their new home, the sky was overcast and the weather was muggy. The grey seemed to punctuate his mood. He was not thrilled to be here. Their new home was beautiful, though a true example of his father's newfound success. But still, it wasn't the home he'd known. A week after they'd settled in, Jeff and Lou woke up early. The sky was a crisp and gorgeous blue, and although the Louisiana heat was playing its usual cruel tricks, the brothers decided that a morning bike ride to explore the area would be just the right ticket to combat the slight pangs of homesickness that they'd both been experiencing over the last week. "I miss home," Lou blurted out as Jeff was smearing salsa on the microwave burrito that would serve as his breakfast. "Me too, Lou, but I guess this is home now. We just sort of have to make the most of it." "I know, but all of our friends and stuff are back in New Orleans. You remember that building we'd always sneak up on top of and watch the city lights come on? I miss that," Lou responded, sounding down. "Yeah, and ZM Video. They only knew us and would always let us rent R-rated movies without our parents there, and he'd always hook us up with a free video game rental if we got a few movies. Yeah, I miss that too. But Lou, we have to..." Lou interrupted. "I know. We have to make the most out of this. This place just seems so fake, and Mum and Dad still treat us like we aren't even here." "Yep, they do. I was sort of hoping the new house would improve their mood, but what can we do?" Lou had no answer. Jeff finished his breakfast, and the two boys left the house to mount their bikes and explore a bit more. As it turned out, the subdivision they moved into was rather closer to a cluster of stores than a small shopping centre. Village Shopping Centre was the name of the short row of businesses. Within these there were a Pizza Hut, a Chinese restaurant, a tobacco store, a Sprint store, and what Jeff and Lou were most excited about, a video store. "We'll have to get Mum or Dad to come down here and open up an account so we can rent movies," Lou mentioned as Jeff flipped a box over to read the description of a horror movie. "Shit, you're right," Jeff snapped, feeling a bit of frustration at this thought. He knew getting his parents to actually come down here and set up a membership would take forever, since their usual after-work routine was to go off into separate rooms until they got hungry enough to come out and speak. Jeff glanced over at the girl working behind the counter. "Maybe I can go over there and sweet-talk her into giving us accounts," he joked. "Yeah, right, Jeff. One look at you and she'll probably ban us," Lou remarked back, a broad smile on his face. "You doubt me, little man?" "Doubt you? The guy who's kissed two girls and almost touched a boob? Never. Please, go over and lay on all the charm." "Whatever. I totally could have banged that girl, but her parents came home and... Hey, last time you told me that story, you said her parents were out of town and her sister came home." Jeff became flustered, and while in the process of trying to make yet another comeback, the girl behind the register removed all doubt by speaking to the boys herself. "Hey, aren't those your bikes?" the young woman asked, pointing towards the glass window. Jeff and Lou looked over and saw three boys outside, two of which were riding around in circles on the Woods brothers' bikes. They would spin them around and then jump off, letting the bikes crash onto the pavement, just to stand them up and ride them again. The two boys riding the bikes were both slim in build. A heavier boy was stood on the sidewalk, drinking a Red Bull and watching. Jeff and his brother made their way towards the doors of the video store. The fat kid saw them coming. Jeff couldn't hear what he said to his two friends, but he made some sort of gesture while shouting. The other two boys dumped the bikes where they lay and walked towards the sidewalk, directly towards the two brothers. "Those your bikes?" one of the boys asked as Jeff and Lou entered the summer heat. "Yeah, why are you riding them?" Lou asked sharply. "We just saw them there, man. Relax. We figured someone just left them out for us." The same boy responded as his two friends joined him on either side. Jeff, determined to make a good start here, tried to change the course of this confrontation. "Well, they're ours. We just moved here about a week ago. We live over on Fairmont Avenue, a few blocks from here. We were just checking out the neighborhood." Jeff hoped that a civil tone could turn things around, but he could tell by the instant look on the kid's face that this was a difficult gamble. "Good for you. You moved somewhere," the fat kid remarked. "Oh yeah, Troy," the first boy spoke. "They moved into that piece of shit house with the gravel driveway. I was wondering who'd buy that place." "Well, Randy, now we know," the big kid, apparently named Troy, replied. Jeff, still trying to salvage the conversation, tried peaceful banter one more time. "Okay, so you're Troy and you're Randy. Well, I'm Jeff, and this is my brother Lou. We just moved here from New Orleans." "You ain't in New Orleans now," the third boy, who'd just now decided to speak, remarked. "Yeah, and who the fuck said you could call us by our names?" Randy asked, that insolent, privileged smile never leaving his face. Jeff smiled and responded to Randy. "Well, I guess I could have called you a fucking asshole, but I figured I would give you the benefit of the doubt." In that moment, a flare of rage replaced the smirk that had rested on Randy's face throughout this entire exchange. The other two boys, Troy and the third member of his band, seemed to be momentarily struck silent. Perhaps they weren't used to being stood up to. "Oh, I'm sorry. Was that language too adult for you?" Jeff asked. "And you, quiet boy, we know this isn't New Orleans," Jeff stated to the slim kid that had reminded him of his geographic locations. "Because if this was New Orleans, you three would already have gotten your asses kicked for touching someone else's shit." The slim kid looked back and forth at his two friends. However, Randy, clearly the leader, seemed to know what to say. "Keith, you gonna let this little bitch talk to you like that?" Jeff knew this part. Though he wanted quite badly to sock Randy and his pals around, a real concern suddenly invaded his mind. If he and Lou got into a fight on their first week in this new neighborhood, their parents would freak. He could practically hear it now, and while things had been far from perfect in their home, even after the move, there was a peace that had fallen over the family. Jeff, fighting his urges, decided to do his best to keep it. He looked over the three, all very well dressed, very privileged looking suburban kids, and dismissed them. "You guys are boring. Come on, Lou. Let them continue their play date without us." Lou laughed at that and followed behind his brother towards the bikes. However, Randy and his little gang of would-be toughs would have none of that. They moved to block Jeff and his brother once again. "Where you going, pussy?" Randy asked, shoving Jeff. Jeff could feel that the shove had no real conviction. Randy was trying to figure him out. Seeing where his buttons were, he'd push harder eventually. but Jeff swallowed the slowly building anger within him once more. Lou took a bit more exception to the shove. "We're going to your mom's house. Me and my brother saved up a couple of dollars from doing chores, and we hear she doesn't charge much." As the words left Lou's mouth, Randy appeared to only register a small portion of it all. Randy Hayden had grown up in Mandeville. His father was a partner at a local firm that made a lot of money, something else that Jeff would soon come to learn. Randy and his friends, while the same age as Jeff, had grown up in very different circumstances. They were used to being listened to. They were used to being feared. In fact, Randy, the target of the insult, just stood there. It was actually Troy, the fat kid, who stepped forward, fists balled, eyes squinted in anger. "Who you talking to?" Troy shouted, and took a wild swing at Lou. Lou, who was both in better shape and had sparred with Jeff a time or two during his time spent boxing, was able to avoid the punch, but just barely. Had that been at all, it may have once again ended there. Troy was clearly taken by surprise at Lou's speed and didn't actually attempt another punch. However, these were bullies, kids that ran in a pack for a reason. The skinny one, Keith, stepped around and threw a punch that connected with the left side of Lou's face. Jeff had seen enough. He'd been shocked at how quickly this evolved into blows, even though he'd expected it almost from the start. When he'd first met Randy and his friends, he'd been curious. From there, he'd developed an annoyance with them, and slowly, that annoyance had evolved into anger. However, upon seeing Lou punched, seeing the small trickle of blood form on his brother's lower lip, the smug look of satisfaction on Keith's face, that anger that Jeff felt suddenly exploded into a rage that he'd never felt before in his life. Jeffrey Woods did not hesitate. He stepped forward, his feet automatically falling into the correct stance that he'd learned from the boxing classes his father once enrolled him into, and he delivered a powerful right to Keith's face. The skinny boy had no time to register shock or pain. The punch caught him by surprise and his knees buckled. Keith went down to the ground in a heap of confusion and dawning fear. Randy, the so-called leader, was almost too shocked to move. He'd had quite a lot of experience starting fights, but no real time log for losing them. He'd never felt control of a situation slip. He was used to being in charge. So now, seeing one of his friends go down so quickly and easily left him in a state of shock that he had no idea how to address. Troy, on the other hand, seemed to have a plan. Throw another punch. He moved towards Jeff, deceptively faster than his weight would seem to allow, and threw two equally fast punches. Jeff, however, had no problem sidestepping both attempts. Troy, seeming lost for words, dropped his arms, as if to say, "Gee, what do I do now?" Jeff had the answer. He moved in, throwing 3 hooks to Troy's stomach. The hefty kid's eyes went as wide as pie pans, a fitting analogy, Jeff thought. He staggered back, clenching his throbbing stomach. Jeff wasted no time and stepped in once more, connecting a sharp punch to the big kid's jaw, causing Troy to promptly fall on his ass. Jeff was reminded of King Hippo from the Punch-Out game he used to play. He couldn't help but smile. Jeff now turned his focus on Randy. He advanced on the boy, feeling something new forming inside of him. He still felt the anger, the rage, actually, at the antics of these 3 assholes. They had the nerve to mess with their bikes, the nerve to insult 2 kids they had never met before, and of course, the ultimate offense, touching his brother. However, mixed in with this rage was also a sweet, enjoyable pleasure. Not only was he kicking their asses, but he was loving every second of it. It was as though the joy of showing them up was perfectly blending with the rage he felt towards them. Together, it formed into a sadistic, controlled sense of power. That was until Lou stepped in front of him. "Jeff, stop. That's enough." "Why stop now, Lou? They wanted this," Jeff replied in a flat voice that Lou had never heard come from his brother's mouth. "She's calling the cops. Look," Lou shouted again. This time, Jeff came back to reality long enough to listen. He glanced over at the video store clerk and saw her on the phone, talking frantically and pointing towards the parking lot. Suddenly, Jeff's strange sadistic haze collapsed, and he regained his former self. "Fuck, let's go," he stated quickly. He and Lou mounted their bikes and rode towards the parking lot exit. "Yeah, you'd better fucking run," Randy called out behind them. Jeff and Lou paid no mind and pedaled away. A few blocks down the street, they dismounted their bikes and began to walk them together. At first, neither brother spoke. Then Lou broke the silence. "Jeff, thank you for standing up for me back there." "Yeah, those guys were pieces of shit. They had it coming," Jeff replied, looking down at the street as they walked. What happened? I've never seen you like that before." "Just defending myself, Lou. What was I supposed to do? Let them beat you up?" "I bet they go to our school. I bet we'll see them there and they won't forget this." "Who cares? We didn't ask to move here. We didn't ask for any of this. Mom and Dad just wanted a bigger house in a nicer neighborhood, and we were along for the ride, whether we liked it or not. Think I give a shit what these rich asshole kids think of us?" Jeff stated and went back to looking at his feet. "Will we get in trouble?" Lou asked. "For what? Defending ourselves?" "Yeah, I guess you're right. They did start it," Lou answered. To the brothers, the matter was closed. However, things were far from over. They found that the trouble they'd believed had escaped was in fact waiting for them at their front door. Jeff and Lou saw the police cars well before they arrived at the driveway. 2 cop cars, both parked in front of their house. The boys felt their stomachs drop. They well knew why the police were there. The brothers entered the living room to find their parents sitting on the couch, the 2 cops standing, leaning on the wall, writing in their notebooks. "What did you 2 do?" Sheila practically screeched as the 2 boys entered the house. Lou, younger and less centered than Jeff, began to go on the defensive. "Some kids tried to jump us down by the video store. They were messing with our bikes, and when we went outside they got in our faces." "That's not the way we heard it," Matt Woods interjected, his voice firm and ripe with anger and dissatisfaction. "No, Dad, that's what happened," Jeff began to explain. "We were down at Friendly Video looking around the store when these 3 kids started riding around on our bikes, and all we did was walk outside and the kids started talking trash to us, trying to provoke a fight. When we tried to leave, one of them punched Lou." Finally, one of the 2 cops spoke. His name tag read Williamson. "Boys, we have some serious complaints about the 2 of you. From what eyewitnesses at the shopping centre say, you 2 started the confrontation with Randy and his friends." Jeff took notice at how familiar the cop's tone was when he said Randy's name. This was a small town after all, and there was a good chance that this cop coached Randy in Little League or drank beers with his dad. Hell, it was even possible that this cop could be an uncle to one of the bullies. "No, sir," Jeff replied. We didn't start it. They did. We just wanted our bikes and to leave. They blocked us. Williamson continued as though he'd heard nothing Jeff said. Several witnesses, including the video store clerk, say that you swung first. They say that the boys were riding your bikes, but let me ask you this. Did you chain them to anything, or did you just leave them outside the store? Why does that matter? Lou demanded. Well, son, if you just left your bikes lying around in the street, you can't exactly blame Randy and his friends for riding them now, can you? It'd be different had you secured them somehow, but you just left them there. Mom, Dad, you're not buying this crap, are you? You know me and Lou don't start fights. When have we ever? These 3 punks messed with us, and if you can't tell that these cops are taking their sides, you need to open your eyes. Jeff knew he was skating on thin ice, but that rage, it demanded some sort of satisfaction. Jeffrey, do not speak about these officers in that tone of voice, and do not speak to us that way either. It's pretty obvious that you two aren't happy here, that you miss your old home, but starting fights in the street isn't going to change anything, Jeff's mother snapped back. Listen, boys, you're lucky. None of the parents want to press charges. This will be reported as a simple scuffle between teenagers. But be advised, you're both on notice. This is a quiet town. Not like New Orleans. We don't tolerate this sort of behaviour here. If you see Randy, Keith or Troy, I highly suggest you tell them you're sorry. We'll be keeping an eye on both of you. So don't let this happen again. You don't want to have an arrest record, do you? Jeff felt his anger bubble over, and he could not hold his tongue. Who is he to you, Officer Williamson? Is Randy your nephew? Is he a friend's son? Or maybe you go over and screw his mom while you're on duty. Which one is it, officer? That's it. Both of you, go to your rooms. Matt Woods apparently found that he wasn't a mute after all, as he ordered his sons out. Jeff and Lou walked up the stairs. However, they refused to hang their heads in shame or feel any regret. Neither of their parents spoke to them for the rest of that day. Jeff and Lou stayed upstairs, venting their shared frustration to each other. They'd been screwed over. Even at their young ages they knew that. They took some solace in the fact that they at least hadn't been arrested or cited, but still, they saw what was really going on here. That cop, he was protecting Randy, Jeff whispered to his younger brother. No shit, his brother replied. We have to watch ourselves and take care of each other. You saw it down there. Even our parents didn't stand up for us. Yeah, what the hell was up with that? Lou asked. It's their fucking image. That's what's up with it. All they care about is fitting in here. They want to make sure they blend in with the rest of the Stepford families. No more fighting. If we see Randy or his 2 fucked friends again, we just walk away. Okay? But, Jeff, you can kick the shit out of them. Why would we walk away? Lou asked. Because I can't kick the shit out of the cops, Lou. I can't kick the shit out of Mum and Dad. And that's what would get us. Fucking Randy and his pals are protected here. You and me, we're not. So if we see them, just avoid them, okay? Please? Lou nodded. I feel like a little bitch, so I owe Keith for hitting me. No, you don't. I paid him back for that. And his fat friend too. I hope they just leave us alone now, Jeff sighed. Jeff and Lou didn't hear from their parents for the rest of that day. They remained in their rooms late into the night, finally coming down to eat after they were sure their folks had gone to bed. Lou said that he felt relieved about that, but Jeff had a sinking feeling that the worst was yet to come. He was correct. The next morning, when the two brothers came downstairs together to eat breakfast, their parents were already sitting at the dining room table, staring at the boys, approving of nothing they saw. "Sit down," Matt stated flatly. "What's going on?" Lou asked. "Sit down," Matt stated again, anger dancing on his words. The boys complied without further question. Matt Woods began his diatribe. "Whatever that was yesterday, beating up some kids for touching your bikes, mouthing off at the police, disrespecting both me and your mother, that stops today." "We didn't beat anyone up for touching our bikes," Jeff blurted. "Shut up, Jeff. This is a one-way conversation," his father barked. "That kid, Randy Hayden, his father is a partner at my firm. Did you know that? Did you even think about that when you were assaulting him over your godforsaken bike?" "You just don't think, did you, Jeff?" Sheila added. How could I have known that?" Matt continued. "Well, I've spent the entire morning talking to his father on the phone. His dad is willing to let it all go, but shit, son, I have to deal with that at work now. Do you have any idea how much damage this could have done to me, to our family?" Jeff felt that rage coming back and fought with all his might to keep it stifled. Instead, he once more tried to appeal to the two adults' parental side. "Mom, look at Lou's face. They split his lip. Can't you see it's swollen?" Lou turned his head to better showcase the injury. "My God, Jeff, so some kid played a little rough with your brother. Is that any reason to fight them? I wanted to make friends with some of the other families in this neighborhood, but thanks to you, I just don't know." No sooner could Jeff or his brother construct a proper defense than their father began speaking again. "Your mother and I have talked this through. Since there are only a couple of weeks of summer vacation left, we've decided that Lou should spend the rest of the season at Aunt Marcy's place. We've already spoken to her, and she is willing to let him come out there and stay." Both Jeff and Lou were floored by this decision. They began to protest at the same time, but then saw the look on their parents' faces. The decision was made. So that's the end of episode 1. I hope you've liked my rendition of Jeff the Killer. It took me a few goes finding the right voice for this. I've coming hot off the heels of City of Midnight, which is as far away as a voice as I can get from this one. Hope you enjoyed it. There'll be another one along in a week or two. Subscribe, drop us a like, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for the listen. Take care.